Okay, now that you've mentioned that it might seem something maybe fundamentally wrong, you know that before the WIEC commenced, WIEC had started announcing that they may tilt towards the computer-based examinations. And then you have JAMB on its own part, who is presently running a computer-based examination, having technological issues. Now, where does this leave Nigeria and technology when it comes to education? Mrs. Etu, can you say something about that?
Thank you so much for that question. In the first place, you know that Nigeria is still a developing nation.
Okay.
You know, to some extent, if you had to ask me that question, I will tell you that we are still growing in the system. To some extent, I will feel we are not yet developed enough.
Okay.
Why I say so is this. You know, like in the US or UK, you discover that this is actually what they operate with.
Yes.
But here in Nigeria, you just brought a particular phenomenon. You've not actually tested it. You've not checked it. If we can actually work with this thing. You just brought a principle, you just injected it into the system. Whether the children actually are prepared or they are ready to work with such a technological whatever, CBT, you don't know. So my own advice is this. The world is going global now, technologically. AI is taking over so many other countries.
Yes.
So what I would advise is, so long as they are going to work with this CBT from the onset, as these students are in the secondary school, they should just start with the computer-based system.
Okay.
Because if they are already used to it, they will not be shocked, or this mass failure will actually subside to some extent. Why do I say that? You know, something that you're actually used to.
Yes.
You know, you will not find it as if I'm going there to press computer.
Yes.
No, that anxiety will not be there.
Okay.
Because you are already used to it. You know, that is why, like my second said, that education is not only a powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education is life itself. Why do I say that? If they've actually imputed these things into the children when they were far younger, you discover that the whole of their life is technology.
Yes.
You discover that this anxiety or pressure that they are going to face or that they actually faced will not be there. It will be a normal thing. But to some extent, then JAM or a WIEC should have even imputed this, that, right from SS1. You know, you can't be using pen and paper to write in the school. It's now WIEC and JAM.
But you know, so many of our public schools don't have access to these equipments.
Yes, that is why the government has to come in. If the government come in and they make preparation for all these things, they will have it. Then the children will be using it and they will get used to it. And as such, by the time it now comes to external exam, because they're already using it in the school system, you discover that there will be nothing new. It will look like a normal thing. But for the fact that in the school system, they are not, you are using your pen and bio, but then now it has come to external exam, you know, there's a little pressure. There will be a little anxiety.
Yes.
Even if the child is actually brilliant, right? Well, that little difference will be there. You know?
Yes.
So to me, I feel the government to some extent has to still come into the system by making provisions for those technological equipments.
I do get your point, because sometimes you see the students taking these examinations with the computer and little errors that they could have just fixed with a click. As soon as something pops up on the system, they are confused, they don't know what to do because they're not used to it.
And you even discover that those are actually brilliant, but just for that little error that popped up, it has thrown them
Off balance, yes.
Yeah.
That's what you have actually prepared for. The little balance, you discover able to what IS is it IS that is this or is it AR? No,
Yes.
It does happen, really, yeah.
Under tension and pressure and anxiety,
Yeah.
you just discover that these students are imbalanced.
Yeah.
But that little error that has popped up, mind you, this student has actually prepared. So what am I trying to say in essence? Let's say from SS1, please, the government should come in. Why I say the government should come in? Let's say the school system actually have these computer systems.
Okay.
Then let's start the exams with those things right in the school. You don't teach them what do you call it? At the end of the day, you now carry them to come and write exam.
With CBT, just
CBT.
dump it on them like that, yes.
Even when they are actually brilliant. But please, I'm appealing to the government to make provisions to the schools system so that they can buy this technological equipment. Thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you, what role do you think technology can play in enhancing the reliability and efficiency of standardized testing in Nigeria? So do you agree with her that computer-based examinations should be standardized in Nigeria?
Thank you. Remember that JAMB, each time they want to go for this examination,
Yes.
there's what they call mock JAMB. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
First, they set this mock first to test the readiness of the students
Yes.
and the readiness of the CBT centers for the examination. Now, because most schools do not have these computers, they are taken to accredited CBT centers.
Okay.
Yes. One, how do you guide against certain things? There. Okay, let's take for instance, some schools are in the remote
Areas, yes.
For some reason, these students may not have had access to computers. How about internet facilities? Then from their JS 1, 2, 3 to 6, they are taught manually, no access to computers. Then close to WAEC or JAMB, you take them to CBT center to take the examination with the system. We've had cases where students will have to click on the submit button.
Yes.
And
it becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem. And you can't reverse it once you have done that. Because you submitted it, actually it's taken that you have submitted.
Yes.
Very good. How do we guard against that? And for these students, I think the only gadget they know about is their phones. But that is topic for another day. How do they even use that in their educational pursuits?
Yes.
But that's topic we'll talk about another day. So when we talk about these CBT examinations, it's something that we have to initiate at a very early stage of the examination, so that the students are used to it. Oftentimes, some find it difficult to even start the system.
Yes.
And you don't blame them. That is the background they have. For some students, probably the lucky and the privileged ones, they have computers at home, they have laptops, they are privileged to have them. They are very good at it, they are at home with it, they can run with it. But how about those who are not so privileged to have access to a computer? Now, recall that these things are internet driven.
Yes.
And all of us, we know how it works in Nigeria.
Of course.
Oftentimes, you have to go to the bank, you are asked to wait that internet is down. So in situations where you have to take this examination that way, and the internet is down, all that and all that, how do we guide against that? That is not the only issue. Then, it's expected in every examination, let's say for instance, in my field, the English language, the students are meant to express themselves. Yes. The students should write where you look at the spellings,
Yes.
the mechanical accuracy.
Yes.
How do they organize their ideas? Is it logically organized? And all that. How about the content? So if you are going to make WAEC to the computer-based, fine. However, they must make provision that these students are able to write in a way, and it's not just peculiar to my field, because every field, the students need to express themselves
Yes.
actively. What is the essence of being educated if you cannot express yourself actively in whatever field? So even if they are going to do that, they must take that into cognizance. The student being able to express themselves, the student being able to give the contents. You studied mass communication. You should be able to defend to the latter the course that you studied. And based on what you are able to put out, because that is the idea that you have, that is the knowledge that you have. But oftentimes the CBT examination, we know We'll get there. But the government, of course, if we truly want to be true to this cause, we need to do more.
Yes.
All parties have to be involved. Partners in education, the government, the school, the students, even parents at home. It should be a collaborative thing so that we'll see if we'll be able to teach these students. Let them have access to computers. Before now, you say you teach students computer, they don't see computers. How? The students get to the CB center, she is fiddling with a gadget. Give a mouse, he said the mouse is not moving. Log in, he said, how do I log in?
Yes.
This is a student who wants to. You don't blame the students. That is the point where we are. For people in remote villages, how do you expect them to do it? He has never seen a system. He has never touched one before now, only to be thrown into the hall to sit for an examination with the computer. In fact, all parties, stakeholders in education should be involved. Let us look at this thing, study it, and let us know the right way out of this quagmire.
All right, that's a good one. Well, let's take a look at the broader implications. What do you think are the broader implications of these examination challenges on Nigeria's education system and students' academic future? Mrs. Etu.
The broader implication for this is just that, to some extent, you will discover that the outer world
Yes.
and have these negative impacts on us Nigerians. They will look at us and say, we are not growing. Because why am I saying this is this? In the external world, we discover that they are all prepared, and these gadgets, computer system and everything, are already available with them. But here we are, like my second actually said, in the remote areas, and students that actually came from such areas that have not actually seen. You've not seen the system, but here you want me to write the system. The outcome may be actually disastrous. And I guess to some extent, this has led to the mass failure of this present time. So what I'm trying to say overall is this, that in as much as the students that are in the outer parts
Yes.
are having access to all these gadgets, the state governments as well as parents, like my sister said, both the state governments, parents, teachers, as well as the students,
Yes.
should be involved. Why do I say this? By the time the state government actually make provision for such things, both in the local cities and in the local places and in the cities as
yes.
well as in the villages, whatsoever the people in the cities have access to.
Those in the rural areas should also have access, equal access.
Equal access, yeah.
Equal accessibility to such gadgets. And the earlier such things are implemented into the system, the better. So that with that, knowing fully whether from the one that this is actually what I'm going to use at the long run, the earlier you get master over it, the better. Not me practicing with just ordinary
Pen and paper.
you know, at the end of the day, you just bring such a person to come and write. The failure will be high. So to me, I will appeal to both the governments, the parents, the teachers, even the students, starting with the government, to please kindly make provision. Whatever goes to the city should equally go to the rural areas. There should be no differentiation. And as such, then even the teachers as well, they should also be equipped with such awareness, with such knowledge. And the moment those teachers are actually equipped with it, they will be able to impart
Pass on the knowledge, yes.
knowledge onto the students. And additionally, we discover that knowing free whether in SS3 or in a Java, I'm going to use computer, let them introduce these gadgets early enough. The moment you have a master of it, you will not find it difficult in the work. In a situation where you don't actually introduce these gadgets on time to these children, no matter whatever they have drawn, even if they are actually brilliant, they will go there and feel. They will just go there and, that little shock that, how do I log in? That has struggled in balance. Or, like you said, how do I send my
Submit, yes.
Submit my question.
Submit.
Yeah.
Maybe a student might actually be brilliant, has actually answered well. In trying to solve, maybe he now pressed another thing.
Yeah.
Everything has gone. The mass failure will be high. But the situation where both whatever that is in the cities are also distributed to the rural areas, and not only that, and they are actually distributed, and from onset you discover that from SS1 they're already using
Getting
this.
exposed to these
Getting
equipment,
exposed to
yes.
it, yeah.
They will not get used to it. And by the time they come out in the jam or the white, it will not be nothing new because they're already used to it. And I feel to such extent it will improve the academic performance of such students. But where it is now, the outcome is disastrous because of the mass failure. The mass failure because of some of the parties that not having the system. Like she actually said that there are some schools that don't have the CBT centers.
Yes.
And now you might imagine, you will just assume if it is yourself that you don't have access to these things. Now they now want to move you to go to a school that has a CBT center. The first thing is, how do I start it? That has put fear in you already. Are you getting it?
Yes.
But the situation where the child is already used to it, then the parents as well inculcating such knowledge into the children at home. That is where the parents comes in, you know. By the time you give such a inculcation into these children, this is what you're supposed to do. You go and read, you go and do this, you go and do that. By the time you put us together, and then the student actually prepares and prepare with those gadgets, then I think to some extent it's going to improve the educational performance of these children.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Eto. Well, as we wrap up this morning, I would like to ask you this final question. If you can just take that quickly. How can the welfare and mental health of students be prioritized during high-stake examinations like this, especially in a crisis situation like this one that we have had? How can the welfare and mental health of students be prioritized?
Thank you, dear. I did say, and I quote Krashen in psychology, that once anxiety is high,
Yes.
internalization would be low. Let's take, for instance, as a teacher in the classroom, you come in, instead of trying to get the students settled and in the right frame of mind, you raise anxiety by your action, either shouting at someone,
Yes.
or kind of disposition that get the students unsettled. Once you do that, that will raise tension, that will raise anxiety. And once you have succeeded in doing that, the students are afraid. Internalization will be low. You can remember when you were a student.
Yes.
Yeah, when the teacher shouts, oh no, you don't know it, I know you will not know it. It dampens their spirit. But you can motivate, you can encourage. You know, when you raise such anxiety, even what a student knows, now of course may tend to go off. He doesn't know it again. He lacks that confidence. Okay, now to the question. I think it is good to protect the mental health of the students. Their mental sanity is very important. Look at the young girl that took her life
Yes.
because she failed JAMB. And days after, the results came out and they had all manner of stories. But it was quite dramatic, the scenario.
Yes.
Remember that these are human beings and not animals. And there's a whole lot. Are you not aware that some students, their results were not published? Those ones, they said they were underage and
Yes.
yes, you take the results, they will tell you, oh, this and that, but you're allowed to take the examination. That was why I said that something is fundamentally wrong. If you know that a student at a certain age is not allowed to take the examination, start it ab initio. Set the examination rule in a way that from day one, every stakeholder knows that if I'm not up to 16, I will not sit for JAMB. Instead of this whole drama, let us find ways to protect the mental health of the students. And how can we do that? The credibility of the examination matters. Let the students build confidence in the system. First, if I don't study, I will not get any assistance from anywhere. Of course, there will not be leakage. There will not be malpractice. There will not be impersonation of any sort. Once you know that, oh, I cannot do this, it helps you to study. Get ready for the examination. That is one. Then, as a student who is preparing for examination, do you have confidence in the system that my result will be actually what effort I have put in? That is another thing. So we don't build a system that anything goes and, well, it is what it is. No, it cannot be what it is. All the stakeholders, from the government, from the examination body, from the students, from the parents, we should put our hands together to build a formidable system in education. Like I said, and I quote, according to Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. And no nation can grow above its educational system.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. And that's Uche Oboku, Associate Professor in English, Dennis Osadebe University. We've had her on the show this morning. And then we've also had Mrs. Etu Terlin, and she's a lecturer in the Department of Accounting. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning.